To read the mind of others, it's essential to master three key techniques. By doing so, you can effortlessly discern what anyone is thinking. Let me share with you a Buddhist tale that illustrates how these methods work. A long time ago, in a small village, two brothers lived together. The older brother was blind and spent most of his time at home, while the younger brother worked as a farmer. However, animals frequently damaged their crops, and this troubled the younger brother. One day he thought of a solution. His blind brother could sit in the field and scare away the animals by shouting whenever he heard them. The younger brother built a small hut in the field and explained the plan to his elder brother. The blind brother agreed, and from then on he sat in the field, shouting to scare away animals when he heard them. This strategy worked for many days. One day a deer ran through the field, breaking the fence as it fled. Shortly after, a king chasing the deer arrived and asked the blind brother, "Have you seen a deer pass through here?" The blind man replied, "Your Majesty, I am blind and cannot see a deer. However, the animal you are chasing is not worth your pursuit." Surprised, the king asked how the blind man knew this. The blind man explained, "Your Majesty, the animal is a pregnant doe. I've never known a king to hunt a pregnant doe. You are wasting your time." Astonished, the king ordered his commander to capture the animal alive and verify the blind man's claim. When the commander returned, he confirmed that the doe was indeed pregnant. Amazed, the king returned to question the blind brother further. The king said, "You seem to have great wisdom. I have one more question. Is my wife faithful to me?" The blind brother hesitated, replying, "Your Majesty, why do you ask such a question after so many years of marriage?" The king insisted, threatening to punish him if he didn't answer. The blind brother then requested to be alone with the queen for a short time. Reluctantly, the king agreed. When alone with the queen, the blind brother asked to touch her, which enraged her. She began beating him in fury. Later, the blind brother returned to the king and said, "Your Majesty, your wife is unfaithful." The king, shocked, questioned the queen, and she admitted her infidelity. The king, now convinced of the blind brother's wisdom, asked how he knew. The blind man explained, "Your Majesty, when I asked to touch her, she didn't refuse or simply say no. Instead, she became violent and beat me. Her reaction was excessive and revealed her guilt." The king, impressed, asked one final question. "Am I truly my father's son?" The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, I can tell you, but you must promise not to get angry." The king promised. The blind man then said, "You are your father's son, but you also carry the shadow of a miserly merchant." Perplexed, the king confronted his mother, who confirmed that while he was indeed his father's son, a merchant had heavily influenced his upbringing. The king returned to the blind brother and asked, "How did you know about the merchant?" The blind man replied, "Your Majesty, I observed how you have not rewarded me for my help. From this I deduced that you have been influenced by a miser." The king laughed and promised to reward him. Finally, the king asked, "How can you read people's thoughts so accurately?" The blind man explained, "Though I am blind, I understand people's minds through their actions, body language, and gestures. These three methods can reveal a person's inner thoughts." The first method, he said, is to observe the eyes. The eyes say much without speaking. Their direction, movement, and focus reveal a person's intentions. Avoiding eye contact may indicate dishonesty, while direct eye contact shows engagement. The second method is to pay attention to facial expressions. The face is a mirror of one's emotions. Smiles, frowns, and raised eyebrows can reveal a person's feelings, even if they don't say it aloud. The third method is to observe body language. A person's gestures and posture convey their mood and thoughts. Crossed arms, for example, may indicate defensiveness, while leaning forward shows interest. The blind brother concluded, "Your Majesty, to truly understand others, you must first calm your own mind and focus on the present moment. Only then can you read the thoughts of those around you." Thus, by mastering these three techniques, observing the eyes, the face, and body language, you too can learn to understand what others are thinking. As we conclude this story, we thank you for embarking on this journey of wisdom with us. For knowledge has the power to elevate one's life.